The purpose of this video is to give you an introduction to reading and comparing, which is Year 12 English VCE Unit 4, Area of Study 1. So let's talk about what this area of study is about. And before we do that, let's think about how we can connect what we're doing in the classroom to our real lives and what we already know. So 3 questions to start us thinking about what comparison is and why we do it and how we do it are these 3. Now, it's worth taking the time to think through these because what you may do in real life already, because we all compare regularly in our lives, you can bring into the classroom, right? That kind of thinking you can bring into the classroom and it will make your life easier. It will also make this area of study more accessible for you and will hopefully enrich the discussions and the learning that you do in class. So let's go through the key knowledge and skills that are stipulated in the study design. Now, in the study design, you need an understanding of ideas, issues, and themes presented in texts, and we're going to go through what that jargon means in a second. So you will need to know how the authors convey their ideas about particular themes and issues, and how the authors use textual features to communicate this. Alright, so what do the authors want to tell us, and how do they do it? The how. If we're thinking about film, we're thinking about camera angles, we're thinking about characterization, we're thinking about dialogue, we're thinking about color, we're thinking about voiceover, all those kinds of techniques, and basically how the story is told. Same thing in the novel, except you're thinking more about imagery, you're thinking more about the language that's being used, you're thinking a lot about, again, characterization, perhaps setting as well. And here's the most important one, how comparing text can enrich our understanding of ideas, issues, and themes. So the word enrich basically means to extend or expand upon something, to help you to learn something new, or to open your eyes to something that's a bit different. It's not good enough to just be able to identify and say that texts have certain similarities and differences. That's the foundation of this area of study. But we really want to think about how those similarities and differences can help us to expand our knowledge and understanding. So let's go through the skills. You'll need to be able to explain and analyze similarities and differences between how texts present ideas, issues, and themes. Very straightforward, just similarities and differences. And the choices authors make to convey their perspectives. So again, thinking about the similarities and differences between the texts, making connections between the texts, and also thinking about what are the different ways that authors actually do this. So again, techniques. And you also need to use your regular text response skills. So earlier in the year we were studying Medea. You're going to need to use those same skills in order to express your understanding. Alright, just to clarify the jargon a bit, let's go through what a theme, issue, and an idea is. So a theme is a broad topic, a big topic, a very large topic that can be explored in different ways. So one prevalent theme in both Invictus and Ransom is leadership. An issue is a question or something that can be explored or debated between the two texts or within that theme. So one issue that's very prevalent in both Invictus and Ransom is how can leaders help others to exceed their own expectations? How can they go beyond what is normal or what people are used to or the conventions that people are tied to? And an idea, and I've put perspective here because I think it's a useful way of thinking about what an idea is. An idea is something that the creators of the texts want to try and convey or tell us or communicate to us about a certain theme. So I think one really clear idea or perspective that's shown about leadership, the theme of leadership, is that effective leaders must display humility. Okay? So a theme is a big topic. An issue is a question or an area of debate or exploration. An idea is essentially a perspective, something that the creators want to convey to us. I'm just going to skip through this, but you can pause the video and have a look at this. It's just the notion of comparison in more of a real life context, continuing on the theme of leadership. Alright, so here are the texts, Ransom and Invictus, and here are some themes that are pretty well explored in both of these texts. Now, they're all also interconnected, right? Because leaders need to inspire. Leaders will often sacrifice personally. In both Invictus and Ransom, revenge and forgiveness are very, very strong themes. And whatever happens there results in kind of personal and societal transformation as well. So you shouldn't look at these in isolation. You should think about how these are connected. Alright, here is a little bit about the texts themselves. You can pause the video if you'd like to read this. Okay, let's go through the building blocks for comparison. So the first thing that you need, the foundation for any effective comparison, is to notice, identify similarities and differences. And really, you should try to be as specific, as detailed as possible, which means noticing the nuances and subtleties within the texts, which is why re-watching and rereading key scenes and key sections is so important, because you're going to notice different things every time you do so. So you need to make sure you make the time to do that. I think a lot of students think that it's a waste of time, but it's not, because if you don't notice similarities and differences, then you're not going to have anything to compare. So let's quickly go through something right now from Invictus. A couple of things that you may not have noticed from your initial viewing of Invictus.
After 4 years of talks, the day Black South Africans have been fighting for has finally arrived. For the first time, they are free to cast their vote alongside whites. An estimated 23 million people went to the polls today.
Alright, the first thing to notice, if you didn't before, is that this is a news report. It's almost like archived television footage. Okay, with a narration, a voiceover commentary, and everything. And even the way that it's filmed, the way that it's shot, it's not just the quality of the video itself, but the graininess of it tells us that it's, a news report. So then we might wonder to ourselves, what might be the purpose of beginning the film with some sort of news report? Why would the creator, the director, Clint Eastwood, choose to do that? Alright, here's another example. Alright, so in that short scene there, Mandela in the present, we've gone past all the newsreel and everything, Mandela in the present, the first thing that we see about him is that he gets up in the early hours of the morning and he makes his bed. And then he goes down for his early morning exercise. So again, you need to think about the subtleties here. Now, the director could have chosen to just have him wake up and go down the stairs, but he chose to show him waking up and making the bed. Why might he have done that? This is the first impression that we have of the president in the early stages of the film. Why might the creator of the text have chosen to include that little detail? Something to consider. Alright, not only do you need to know the similarities and differences, you obviously need to have the language in order to compare. Because again, language will shape the way that you think about what you're doing. So here are some useful phrases in terms of comparing similarities on the left and differences on the right. Now, the process of comparison, obviously you have your similarities and your differences, and you've got your language. So the process of comparison, well, before you even think about actually juxtaposing the two texts, you need to analyze the meaning within them. And all this requires you to do is to apply the text response skills that you have been using throughout your secondary English education so far. So things like identifying relevant sections, reading sections in context, inferring meaning from language, characterization, using evidence to support your interpretations. That's what you've been doing quite a lot. So keep doing that and keep practicing so you can get better at it. So here is really the meat of what we're thinking about in this unit, the comparison. Now this process can be difficult, but it's also can be quite exciting, and you can learn a lot from this as well. So here are some questions to ask yourself when you're actually thinking about comparison, because you may not have a certain starting point. So do the texts present the same idea or perspective? Do they reinforce each other? Does one text add or complement to an idea or perspective from the other text? Do the texts present differing or contrasting ideas or perspectives? All right, a more simple way of thinking about this is perhaps using this way of thinking: connect, extend, and challenge. So do the texts connect to one another? Do they present similar ideas? Do they extend one another? Does one present a certain idea and the other build upon it? And challenge, do they present contrasting or differing ideas or perspectives on the same theme? And if so, why? And what does that show us? All right. So that was a brief, quite quick skim through what this area of study is about. What might be useful now is for you to think about those similarities and differences that you've compiled so far and begin to think about what perspectives or ideas the texts are presenting to us about certain themes.